This is the Griffin Realty Group Ask-A-Griffin podcast, episode number 12, Staging. How do you set indoor and outdoor spaces to feel like home? Are you a buyer, seller, or real estate agent who has questions about buying or selling property, but you can't find an easy way to get the answers? Well, then, hey, you're definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Griffin Realty Group, and, of course, the host of the Ask-A-Griffin podcast. Now, to help you take immediate action to get started in the right direction, if you need to sell or buy now, or in the near future, you can take advantage of our free step-by-step guides that are waiting for you over at griffincourses.com. That's Griffin courses.com. All right, let's get started here. We continue our series on staging. And the question that we get all the time is, how do you set indoor and outdoor spaces to feel like home? So first of all, the first point here is you heard me emphasize and reference outdoor spaces as well. And this is for all my city dwellers in Boston too, if you have shared common outdoor space, to make sure that that looks good. It's really important. I can't believe how many people will set a space in the city and they'll do a beautiful job in the interior. They'll bring in a pro and the place will look pristine. And then the big part of the sale on the real estate agency side is that outdoor space, that roof deck, that common area where somebody can get outside and get some fresh air during the good weather or just to step outside, period. And it's a mess. And it's not staged. And so all of this consistency that we had with, as we moved through the space on the interior, we go outside and it's not the same. So I just want to really emphasize that this is about outdoor as well. Now, of course, if you live in the suburbs or in the Cape Cod market, in the secondary market that we have here, you want to make sure that that yard is pristine. The whole idea of going more rural is more outdoor space. So we are always obsessing about staging inside, but what about outside? Especially in New England, I mean, we get cooped up all winter long with some tough weather, and then we want to get outside and enjoy it, and there's nowhere to sit down to have a nice cool drink or a sandwich and enjoy the outdoors. And the yard's a mess in general. So, you go back to our series on conditioning and now staging on top of that conditioning. You've cut the grass, you've edged the beds, you painted the house, and now there's nowhere to sit outside and enjoy it. I mean, that's a problem, okay? So consider both indoor and outdoor, because that's what staging is. It's a total activity. I had a wonderful benefit and just a great time filming 8 episodes with A&E when my brother John and I did a TV show called 60 Seconds to Sell. And we were introduced to professional stagers. And I am telling you, especially when the house was small, they maximized the use. I can remember an old barn that was a junker. They did an incredible job. I mean, you wanted to buy the house just to have fun in this barn, just with the little simple things that they had done to stage it. And then when you went outside right off of the side of the barn, I mean, all of a sudden, the usable square footage, the enjoyment of that usable square footage had expanded manyfold. I mean, without feeling too overwhelming and big, it just really maximized this feeling. And it gave it a whole other level of feeling. So remember, indoor and outdoor. So as you're getting your home ready, flow through these spaces and ask yourself, is this set up both indoor and outdoor the best I can? And this is not about spending enormous amounts of money. You probably already have a lot of this stuff. It's just, have you staged it? See, this is all about vision. Staging is about giving the buyer a vision for what they could do. And of course, if your furniture is included, it's almost like a showroom at a furniture store, indoor, outdoor, right? You want to set it up so it's inviting. In fact, when you have people come to see your house, I know some of you are going to get creeped out by this, you want them to sit on your furniture. Believe me, as a professional real estate agent for a very long time and a coach of the same, you want them to sit down. That is a good sign. We are making progress. So let me get into the next couple of points here. You see, the second point here, both inside and out, is that buyers need a vision for the living and a sense of home. We are in this moment in time where somebody's coming in and they're thinking about their life. This is going to potentially be their home. And so all of the basic hierarchy of needs becomes a flood of emotion for them. They start to say, do I feel safe in this place? Do I feel comfortable in this place? This is shelter. This is at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's the business we're in, and you're about to put your property into that world. So you need to understand that their sense of living is how they're ultimately making the decision, right? So that's why a lot of times people get confused about, I've heard I'm supposed to take down my pictures. Well, why? Because that's your life. And I'm not saying that a little sense of happiness, you might not connect. You might have gotten lucky and hit the bingo. Oh, I also have 2 kids. Oh, I also like that type of thing. That's fine. You might get lucky. But when there's a lot of your stuff, people feel like they're imposing. I know this might sound strange to you, but when they walk into your home, a lot of people are already feeling bad almost that they're intruding on your home. Not everybody. But let's take half the population and pretend that they're, well, not pretend, that's the way personality types tend to go, is that 50% of the people are going to feel like they're intruding and they don't want to touch anything. So especially those folks, you're trying to make them as the realtor feel comfortable, and that the product itself needs to help you do that. So anything that you can do to neutralize it, calm it down, make it more, again, it's like a fine dining restaurant when they used to give you that little spoonful of sherbet. If you've never been there, that's what they do. They neutralize the palate so that you can taste for real. You can sense the whole next course. It just cleans you up and gets you ready to go. And that's what you're doing with staging. You're cleaning it up for the next person to enjoy it. And so they're trying to come through your house within about 30 minutes. Really think about this. 30 minutes maybe to an hour if it's a bigger house, maybe longer. But an hour showing, any realtor will tell you, is a long one. And what they're trying to do in one simple hour of 168 in an entire week, they're taking 1 hour to try to make a decision. Is this the place where I would like to live? So this sense of staging is really about what you chose and how you made it look. And this is why I always would recommend hiring a pro, because it's what they do. And that's their specialty. They understand how to extract this sense of living through their choices of furniture. And they also, a lot of them that are very good in their area. Say you have somebody who's really good at urban stuff, and then you have somebody who's really good at rural stuff. They're good. They're artists, and it's because they're able to story tell. In other words, they're able to tell the story of how this home could really serve the life of that buyer. I know I'm sounding dramatic, but I've experienced it myself. I mean, I felt it. I've done the business so long and so many, well over 1,000 transactions in my lifetime. And when we did the TV show, we would come back after the stages were done. We didn't see them doing it. And I felt something different. I felt, as the realtor, more excited about the property, more enthusiastic. Any realtor will tell you a beautiful, pristine, well-staged house is a pleasure. Everybody wants more inventory like that. And so maybe you're listening to this and you're saying, I don't have the money. Okay, it's more about just doing the work or getting your realtor to help you do the work. Right? I mean, I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and move furniture around and open it up and help you box up a lot of your personal items so somebody else can see themselves in it. I'm willing to move, benches outside. I mean, that's what somebody who's a worker does. I'm not beyond that. And if you have the money and you just don't have the people, I'll find you the people, whatever the case may be, because I'd rather defer it to a pro anyway. So that's a very important thing, that the buyer is going to be looking to gain a sense of feeling safe to live there and say, does this feel like home? See, a house is a house is a house. Property's a property's a property. It's a bundle of sticks and bones, right? That's what it is. But a home, that's a sense of something else. That's a deeper emotional state. Home is an emotional state. Think about that. Home. House. Right? I want a home. All right, let's go to the last point here. This is very practical, though, when it comes to being able to negotiate yourself the best deal. You see, we're staging for a sense of comfort, right? Why? Because it helps transition the buyers from the practical to an emotional attachment. Let me explain. let's presume somebody comes in and this is going to be successful. And we just know this as we watch the movie. We're saying to ourselves as we watch the movie, okay, this is the buyer for this house. And the buyer hits the door and suddenly you can see their eyes widen a little bit. And they swiftly begin to go through the practical steps first. Where's the first floor master? Where's the full ensuite bedroom upstairs? Where's the kitchen open to the dining room? They're looking for their checklist, right? Well, that's very practical. They're excited because they can sense something in this house. They loved the neighborhood. When they pulled up, there were kids playing, or it wasn't, it was quiet, whatever. They felt something. But they go through that practical checklist to make sure it checks at least 90% of the boxes. Then they slow down. And realtor friends out there, back off. When you sense that the practical stuff is done, don't try to keep getting in the way, because it has nothing to do with us as realtors at that moment. It has everything to do with them beginning to attach to a sense of home. And you want them, I said this before, you want them to sit down on the chair. You want them to go outside and sit on the grass. You want the kids to throw the ball around in the backyard. You want them to kick the tires. In the right kind of staging that allows them to feel like they're not sitting on your stuff right before you're about to come home is a huge help to a realtor helping you get more money for your property, okay? Or just getting it sold. So let me reiterate this. In our series on staging, I always get the question, how do you set indoor and outdoor spaces to feel like home? Well, number one, you start off by just understanding that you have to stage both. You have to make the whole story. You don't do 6 of 7 chapters and not the 7th, meaning that outdoor little space. You do them all. That's the first point. The second point is that when you're staging it yourself or you're working with a stager, remember what you're choosing the stuff for. Yes, the practical stuff to open up and flow and all that, right? Yes. But the idea is we're picking things that give a sense of living and give a sense of home. So is it something that's soft? Is the color brighter? Those are emotional choices when it comes to staging. So if you want to know how to make it feel like home, think and work with somebody who understands the emotions that certain pieces of furniture and certain colors and certain textures can bring out. As an art, by the way, right? And lastly, we're doing all of this to stage for the sense of comfort and perhaps safety. I'll let people determine that, but definitely comfort, because it transitions somebody when they're making that decision out of just the practical, does this house fit my basic physical needs, into the emotional, where they begin to sell themselves on that emotional attachment and connection so that they're willing to pay a fair market price for that house. Okay? All right, let me summarize it this way. It's important to remember that buyers have very limited vision when it comes to how to stage your house. We talked about that in the last episode. So in this case, it's time to now transition them into something that's more emotional by making good staging emotional choices so that they can see life happening for them in that property. All right. Remember, you can take immediate action to get started in the right direction to sell or buy property if you have to right now or in the near future by getting our step-by-step free guides over at griffincourses.com, Griffin courses.com. Now, the difference between the courses over there and the podcast, it is the entirety of the process of selling, in this case, because we're talking about selling, but I also have one over there for buyers. So it's a whole plan to lay this out so you consider all the phases of this, with or without us. We're happy to give it to you. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you might be listening, so you don't miss out on any insights each time we upload an episode. We also post all of these episodes wherever we can on the social media channels so that you remember, if you can, to turn on the notifications. You'll see the podcast reminders, but we put the content up there. You know where to find us. Look for Griffin Realty Group under any social channel, and it's a high probability you'll find these episodes. Hey, we'd also appreciate it if you would share this content with somebody who does have the need to buy or sell in the near future. Head them over to AskAGriffinCourses.com as well. We'd be happy to help them. But remember, we really appreciate you listening, and we want you to remember that nobody's coming for you. And the reason we give you all this is so that you can go get to work on your own plan for buying or selling property. And we'll see you in the next episode.